Greetings, fellow Pharaons. Today we are talking tier lists, and specifically a tier list for the Awakened Dynasty. So let's dive in. In today's video, we're going to talk about which data sheets are so godlike they belong in the S tier, which ones are stinking out the detachment like a nurgling's fart, and which ones are so mid that you might as well paint them vanilla. So we're going to start off here with the vehicles, and we will start with the Annihilation Barge. Realistically, the only thing this annihilates is your chances of winning if you put it in your lists. I mean, honestly, Games Workshop should have renamed it Hot Garbage. It's really, really poor. Very low firepower, doesn't really do anything. It's definitely going in the bottom tier. Away you go there, sunshine. Next up is the Canoptek Doomstalker. Now, my spindly boy is great in Canoptek Court Detachment, but he is not very good in this one, unfortunately. Just overshadowed completely by the Doomsday Arc, so I'm afraid he's not complete trash in my opinion, but he's going close to trash. C. Still on the Canoptek theme is the Reanimator. Now, little spindly boy is an auto take in Awakened. That extra D3 on reanimation is incredibly strong for the warrior brick, and you can be using it to reanimate several times per round, so it's several D3 per round. Absolutely love this unit, S tier. Sticking with the Canoptek theme, it's the Spider. Now, the Spider's main ability really is buffing Scarabs, bringing Scarabs back, and Scarabs, as we'll come on to later, are not that great in this edition, certainly not in this detachment, so this is also not that great. You could make an argument for the Feel No Pain, but I'm not going to, so it's going near the bottom. The last of the Cs is the Convergence of Dominion. Now, GW basically foobarred fortifications in 10th edition. They're not really meant to be played. There is an argument, however, for bringing one of these in Awakened for the Feel No Pain. So for that reason, it's not a trash unit. It's going to go roughly mid. B or C. Let's put it in C. Next up is the Doom Scythe, and a bit like Fortifications, I don't think GW wants us to play with these toys in 10th edition. They have priced us out. These are too many points for what they do. Now, they're great fun in casual games still. I took 2 croissants to a recent casual tournament, the Last King in the North, held at Element Games in Stockport. It was a brilliant event. Shout out to Brapscallion for organising that one. And they are a lot of fun because they get D3 sustained hits on the death ray, and you can proc sustained hits on 5s. So you can do an awful lot of damage. I was deleting like big Tyranids in one shot, but it's just too expensive for competitive play, so unfortunately it's going to have to go in the trash. From zero to hero, though, because we're now talking about the Doomsday Arc, this datasheet must have back pain because it has been carrying our codex for most of this edition, and it is an absolute auto-include in almost all of my lists. The only one I'm probably not taking it in is Canoptek Court, because you take Doomstalkers instead, but otherwise it's the Doomsday Arc. It's one of the first units I'm putting on my roster. It definitely is S tier. Its non-identical twin, the Ghost Arc, is a problematic unit. Now, in Awakened Dynasty, it is probably again close to an auto-include. I love this because you can proc its reanimation twice, once in your turn and once in your opponent's turn, so twice per battle round. When you combine that with some of the other reanimation shenanigans we've got, that can mean an awful lot of extra warriors coming back from the dead. So for me, it's going to go very near the top. In other detachments, it's not so good because it will only hold up to 11 models, so up to 10 warriors plus 1 character. In most of my lists, I'm just starting Illuminor Xeras in it, so just start 1 character in it, but it's not really being used as intended. I'm hiding it on my deployment, in my deployment zone on my home objective, and it's just used there to proc reanimation. What it should be used for is a forward assault vehicle, so you can move those warriors up the table quickly. But until it can take 22 models, so a full 20 warriors and 2 characters, it's not going to see any use. So we will put you up there. I'm going to drop you in A tier, I think. Moving on to the monolith, this is a great workaround for one of the key weaknesses of Necrons in 10th edition, which is our slow movement for a lot of our units. So you can drop this in, and then the following turn you can teleport a unit that's either from reserves or that's somewhere else on the battlefield. So you can all of a sudden bring an awful lot of shooting power very close to where your enemy doesn't want it. The main reason it's not getting used in Awakened is because in Hypercrypt it has access to a 4-up invuln strat, where there's no strat here to give it an invulnerable save, and with the high AP that's in the game now, that is a serious weakness too. So I'm afraid it's going to go mid for me, mid to low. Let's stick you in C. Sorry, Monolith. Back to Croissants again, and now this one, the Night Scythe, has the ability to deep strike in turn 1, and again that can be very powerful because it can also transport one Necron's infantry unit, so it can transport a full 20 warriors and the characters with them. But again, the same applies as a Doom Scythe. It's just too expensive for what it does. I can't justify bringing it in my list, so it's going in the same place. Off you go, little fella. In the trash for 2 croissants. Going back to big things, there is a strong argument to say that Games Workshop does not want us to run our big set-piece models in this edition because they're all overpriced, they're overcosted, they're too many points. And this next one, the Obelisk, is another prime example. Now, it's low-key really good against things with fly and also against fast melee armies because its abilities all focus around reducing movement, so it can point at one unit and it can halve its movement, its advance and its charge, so it can slow down that big punchy unit of your opponents. Imagine if that's jump pack marines, for example. That can be really powerful. And how also it's got the anti-fly keyword on its guns, but there's just not enough gun there for me. So again, this is going in the bottom tier. If you go, join your fellow vehicles in the trash tier. Looking next at the Seraptech Heavy Construct, and you think you can see the theme developing here. It's a beautiful big model, it looks cool on the tabletop, it costs too many points. It will do quite a bit of damage, but it's not there for a long time, and it's very difficult to move around the table as well in 10th edition. So again, it's going in the trash. Did I mention that our big set-piece models are overcosted? I'm not sure if I mentioned that yet. Here is another example, and this is the Tesseract Vault. This is huge. It's a great, great set-piece model. It's beautiful. But if you play competitive 40k, it's virtually impossible to move it anywhere around those L-shaped ruins. Now, there is a lot of talk that in 11th edition, Games Workshop is going to try and address this and bring back lots of different types of terrain that we've had in previous editions. But competitive play, I don't expect that to change. I think L-shaped ruins are here to stay in the tournament scene. So if you play tournaments, you're probably not playing the Vault. And therefore, I'm afraid it's got to go at the bottom tier again. And the last vehicle we're going to look at is the Triarch Stalker. And the Angry Crab is a real conundrum for me. I would like to get it in more lists. It's got scouts, so it can move quite quickly. It's quite tanky. And the Heat Ray weapon gives you a bit of versatility as well, because it can either be used as a torrent weapon or as a melter weapon. So there is an awful lot of tools in the box with this datasheet. I just can't fit it in my lists. Let me know if you can in the comments. So I think we're going to just pop you in the middle. Before we move on to look at characters, if you are interested in buying any of these Necron units and you're based in the UK, please go and check out Loaded Dice. They're an award-winning local gaming store based in Wales, but they ship all over the UK. They've got a great web store. They offer some fantastic discounts. They've got really good stock levels of Necrons at the moment, so I can highly recommend going and use them. I'll put an affiliate link in the pinned comment. Please use it if you can, because it really helps support the channel. We'll kick off characters with the Catacomb Command Barge, and this one is not hot garbage. The +1 OC aura that it gives out can come in clutch for flipping objectives. It's also pretty tanky, and it's also got a Resurrection Orb, a bonus Resurrection Orb, which again can come in really useful if you are playing the Awakened kind of durability builds like the Warrior Brick or the Wraith build. So I like this. It's not in my list at the moment, but it's getting close to being included, so I'm going to stick it quite close to the top. I think we will put you with the Ghost Ark in A tier. Yeah. Next up is the Chronomancer, and I love this unit. It's great for leading battle line because -1 to hit and move, shoot, move are both very powerful in 10th edition. So I'm definitely putting this little fella near the top. Here, we'll stick you in A there. Well done. Moving on to monsters, and we'll start with the Catan Shard of the Deceiver. This recently got the biggest glow up since men rediscovered growing beards. It is a phenomenal datasheet. Very, very powerful. First off, it's quite tanky with a -1 to hit. It's got loads of wounds now, so it's very durable. And also it's got precision, so it can snipe enemy characters out, which is very, very powerful in this edition, because lots and lots of enemy units will have leaders in there that are providing them with lots of nasty buffs. So this fella, for me, is absolutely S tier at the moment. Also, there are very strong rumours that we are getting a new Deceiver model in 11th edition. The rumour is that this has already been done, like it's designed. I've done a full video talking about what's next for Necrons. I'll put a link to that shortly, but go and watch that one after this if you haven't already, because it's full of Necron rumours for the next edition. Sticking with Catan, it is the Catan Shard of the Nightbringer. Again, this is a phenomenal datasheet. Basically, it kills almost whatever it touches. It's super strong. It's got more wounds now, so it's harder to kill. I'm absolutely in love with this. It's one of the first datasheets I will put on any roster when I'm building an army list, so it's definitely going S tier. Let's pop you up there where you belong, sir. The third of the Catan is, of course, the Void Dragon. Now, this one is pretty good. Again, it got a good glow up, but it's still very niche. It's only better than the Nightbringer, in my opinion, if you always play into quite vehicle-heavy lists, like knights or guard players that take lots of tanks. So, also, it is absolutely not a dragon. I'm not sure who signed off on this GW, but that is false advertising. So it's going in the mid-tier for me. If you go switching back to infantry characters, let's take a look at the Geomancer. Now, this is a beautiful model. The rules are kind of okay, but the problem is the points cost for me. It's just costed too high, and for that reason it's going near the bottom. Next up is one of my favourites, what's got 8 limbs and can fire out a bucket load of shots. This guy, it's a Hexmark Destroyer. I absolutely love this unit. It's got a lot of potential, especially if you are playing into T3 1 wound types of factions, things like Sisters of Battle, Imperial Guard, Genestealer Cults, etc. It can, because it's hitting and wounding on 2s against them, at AP2 damage 1, you can kill a lot of models. If the stars align and you get to fire 3 times in a turn with your Overwatch, and then you're shooting when they shoot you, and then obviously your normal shooting, that's 18 shots. You can probably delete a squad of 10 if they've got a fairly low armor save, and that's really, really powerful. So, little Hexmark, we're going to put you up there in the A tier. Another of my favourites is Illuminor Xeras. He's incredibly tanky. He's got a 2-up save, 4-up invuln, 4-up feel no pain, and you can really make your opponent cry, because when they finally kill him, you can resurrect him for 1 CP in this detachment. How cool is that? And when it comes to the warrior brick build in particular, he's an auto-include for me, because he gives them -1 incoming AP and +1 AP for their outgoing attacks, which is really, really good. So he's definitely going to go in the top tier for me. There you go, son. Another interesting character for me, but one that doesn't quite make the cut for my army list, is Imhotep the Stormlord. Why he's interesting is he's very good on your home objective, because he can farm you extra CP. And the strats in Awakened Dynasty are pretty good. He's probably an auto-include in some of the other detachments like Pantheon of Woe or Cursed Legion, where the strats are super good. Maybe it's even Star Shatter. The reason I'm not bringing him in Awakened Dynasty is because I don't need a home objective camper. The warrior brick is fulfilling that for me. I usually start that behind the ruin that's on my home objective, and I've probably also got a reanimator and a ghost arc there as well, so I just don't have the room for him in my build. If I'm running the Wraith build, where you run 2 bricks of Wraiths instead of the warriors with all the trimmings, then all of a sudden Imhotep becomes probably an auto-include for that. So for that reason, he's not top tier for me, but he is close. So there you go, sir. We will put you in A. After Imhotep is the Locust Lord, and again, this is one that comes into my list sometimes, but is out of my lists at the moment. If you are running either type of Locust Heavy Destroyers, in Awakened he probably is worth taking because of the +1 to hit, and also if you give him the Lord's Blade, he can provide some counterpunch if that unit gets charged. He's very good because of He's very good because he enables critical hits on 5s. And the Gauss Destructors, that means you're getting lethal hits on 5s. That can make all the difference when you're trying to kill a big tank or a monster. And for the Enmitic Exterminators, it is bonkers good because you're getting sustained hits on 5s. Out of 36 shots at half range when you're in rapid fire, that is an awful, awful lot of hits. So even though you're not making the cut at the moment, I think we're going to put you in there. Next up is the Necrosaur, and Amintar has got the lot for me. He is also an auto take, and here's why. Firstly, he provides offensive buffs like sustained hits, etc. Secondly, he gives you some defensive buffs like the 5-up Feel No Pain against mortal wounds and psychic attacks. And again, for the Warrior Brick build, that can be really important. However, he also has fights first. So for the Warrior Brick build, you can stick him next to the Warriors, hiding behind some terrain on the midboard. When your opponent charges the Warriors, out he pops and he fights first. So he can often delete or severely weaken that enemy unit before it strikes the Warriors. He is absolutely S tier. He's in all my lists, and I recommend he's in all of yours as well. Up you go there, Necrosaur, to your rightful place. Speaking of divine units, another S tier one is Orican. Orican the Diviner gives the Warrior Brick a 4-up invulnerable save, and with the creep in AP in this game, that can be invaluable in keeping it alive. So I'm usually starting him on my home objective. He's out of the way so he can't be precisioned, and then stringing the Warriors out from there. Also, it gives your opponent something to think about if they try and deep strike in and attack your home objective, because once per game he can Hulk out, and if the stars do align for you, he can put out some serious damage. So he is definitely going top tier for me. We're then on to a tale of two overlords, and I'll start with the standard overlord first. He was an absolute auto-include at the start of edition in a lot of detachments, not just Awakened. And I think for me, he still is. Now, for a lot of people, he was replaced by his cousin with the fancier cloak. But the reason I still take the Overlord is for 3 things. Firstly, my warriors are not going very far. They're just walking up to the midboard to bait my opponent to come out so that then I can kill him with my killy stuff. So I don't need the auto 6 advance, really. Secondly, he's got more punch. His War Scythe is really good. And thirdly, he has more durability than the Overlord with the Translocation Shroud because he gets -1 damage as well. So for those 3 reasons, he is my pick, and that's why he's going top tier. The model shown here is obviously the one with the Tachyon arrow. You're not taking that one. You're taking a Resurrection Orb. His Fancy Dan cousin with the Translocation Shroud is still very good, and there is a way to get him into your Awakened lists, and that is if you are playing a second Brick of Warriors that you want to be more offensive. And in those circumstances, that Auto 6 advance can be really good. However, he's probably best paired with Immortals, the Tesla variety, because they have Assault. So being able to get that extra 6 inches guaranteed every time, who doesn't need an extra 6 inches? So for me, we're going to stick him not in the top tier, but he can go in A. I think he definitely belongs there. And if you are taking the Translord and the Tesla Immortals, you might also want to think about adding a Plasmancer. Mr. Stinky Finger gives them crits on 5, so you're getting a bucket load of extra sustained hits. And also he does mortal wounds with his Stinky Finger and has his own shooting, so he brings quite a lot of offensive capabilities here. So for that reason, he's going to go side by side with the Translord. Then we come to the problem child of the Cryptex. This one is one I can't make work, but I know a few of you do, and it's the Psychomancer. It's a really interesting tech piece because it throws out battle shocks, so you can run it solo, stick it in the midboard, and try and help flip objectives. And also, obviously, as a solo character, it can be an action monkey too. So there is a place for it. I'm not finding it at the moment. Let me know in the comments if you are, and for that reason, it's going to go in the mid-tier for me. Next to the Locust Lord, there you are. Another character that tends to split opinion in Awakened Dynasty Pharaons is the Royal Warden. Again, I think I prefer the Overlord for a single warrior brick because I need that resilience, that extra durability. The Overlord gives you My Will Be Done, so I'm getting to use basically the reanimation strat for free once per battle round. He's got a Resurrection Orb, etc. However, if I was running a second warrior brick as a more offensive option for damage output, I would definitely want the Royal Warden in there because he gives it fall back and shoot. And that means that you can't get tied up. So all of those guns cannot be tied up. And that is really big. So for that reason, I think we're going to stick him in A. One where there is no argument whatsoever, though, is the Scorpec Lord. Now, particularly with the Anegic Dermal Bond enhancement, which gives him a 4-up Feel No Pain, becomes incredibly difficult to shift. He's a real pest. I like to run this solo. It still gets impact hits on the charge, so you can do mortals on the charge, and it can tie a lot of things up. It tied up my opponent's entire left flank in my last game. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite enough. I still lost by about 8 points, I think. But he did a great job. So for me, he is absolutely S tier. Now, you can argue about whether or not you should take him with some Scorpex. At the moment, I'm running him solo. He does give the Scorpex lethal hits, so there is definitely a benefit there. But let me know which way you like to run him. Are you running him naked or with a retinue? The Technomancer is another auto-include for Wraith bricks. If you're running Wraiths in Awakened, you run them with a Technomancer. Gives them a 5-up Feel No Pain, makes them terribly obnoxious. Just make sure to keep him as hidden as possible so that your opponent can't use precision to snipe them out. Going back to our big models for a second, and it is the turn of Zarek the Silent King. Now, while you could make an argument for running him in Awakened Dynasty, I just think that there are other detachments that suit him better. There are much better synergies in Star Shatter, for example. In Awakened, he always feels to me like he's just a little bit overcosted, so for that reason, I'm afraid I've got to put him in the mid-board. I would love to put him higher, but I don't think that's valid. So there you go, Zarek. Hopefully we'll see you higher up in the next edition of 40k. And now it is the turn of the last of the Catan, which is the Transcendent. Now, this is nothing wrong with this datasheet. It's really quite good, got a good glow up, the same as the others. It's just, in this detachment, I just can't see it being as useful as the Nightbringer or the Deceiver, so it isn't getting in any of my lists ahead of them at the moment. So for that reason, for Awakened Dynasty, it is going to go in the mid-board. Tier B for you, son. And the final character would usually be where I would say last but not least, but there is an argument that he is the least, and that is Trazyn the Infinite. And it galls me to say that because Trazyn is an absolute fan favourite in the lore for very good reason. He's fantastic in the Black Library. His rules on the tabletop are terrible. Please fix him in 11th edition GW. I'm afraid I've got to put Trazyn in the trash. Before we move on, if you like these Necron videos, please consider becoming a YouTube channel member. It is only through the support of channel members that I can continue to make these videos. You can become a member for as little as £3 a month, and it makes a big difference to me. If you want to sign up, there is a link in the video description. Thank you. Looking at the other category, and we're back on a Canoptech tip, and we're going to start with the Canoptech macrosites. This is easily the worst of the 3 data sheets that we got from the new Canoptech Circle kill team. And the reason is, again, it's just massively overcosted. There's some interesting buffs that these models can do, but they're just nowhere near worth the points. Hopefully, again, they'll be better in 11th edition. So we're going to whack them. Just going to have to put you in the trash, guys. Sorry. We've already touched on Scarabs when we talked about spiders. I think the lack of any OC is what's killed them in this edition. They used to be seen a lot more in 9th edition. I know there's ways to give them OC, but generally speaking, I'm just not sure they're worth the points. They're still a good screening unit. If I've got 40 points spare, I might stick one in. But honestly, I'm probably more likely to spend that on a Locust Destroyer to use as a solo action monkey. So Scarabs, I'm very sorry, but you are going... I can't put you in the trash because I love my scribs, but I'm going to have to put you close to the bottom. Going back to the Canoptech Circle kill team, and this is one unit that is an absolute auto-include. This is the Tomb Crawlers, and for me, they really shine in this detachment. I think they have replaced Cryptothralls as the ablative wounds that you would take with the Warrior Brick. There might be an argument for taking Cryptothralls elsewhere, and we'll come on to that, but for me, they are absolutely an auto-include in my lists. I love them with the Warrior Brick, and I think you should definitely give them a try. So you are going right at the top. Now we come on to Canoptech Wraiths, and this is another fantastic unit in Awakened Dynasty. 2 bricks of Wraiths with Technomancers make a very good alternative to the Warrior Brick with all the trimmings. I know some of you prefer to run this because you get extra mobility, you've got that Feel No Pain, you've got the 4-up invuln still, you've got shooting ability in combat, you've got the ability to do mortal wounds in the movement phase. There is an awful lot of tricks with Wraiths, so I was going to put them in the A tier because I'm not running them at the moment, but I'm not going to let my judgment be clouded. I think they probably belong in S. I was just desperate to put them in A there, wasn't I? But they do belong in S. And as I mentioned for Crypto Thralls, while they are the cutest little murder buckets, they have largely been replaced in Warrior Brick builds by the Tomb Crawlers. There is still, however, a place for them, I think. If you are running the Wraith Bricks instead, I think Crypto Thralls might work better. And the reason simply is they've got smaller bases. So the Wraith Brick can be quite hard to hide. You don't want the extra chunkiness of 2 Tomb Crawlers in there as well. So I would run the Crypto Thralls still there. So for that reason, I'm going to put them in A. Another unit that has some good utility but isn't making my list at the moment is the Death Marks. Let me know if you're using them in the comments. Now, they can be good backfield home objective holders because if an enemy unit comes in from Deep Strike or reserves, they get to shoot at them. But the damage output just isn't there for me to make that enough of a threat. The threat's often more existential and real. They can also keep your opponent honest, though. If you keep 5 in Deep Strike, you can force your opponent to have to screen to stop them from dropping in. But honestly, I think Hexmark's probably better at that. So they are going pretty mid for me at the moment. Let me know if you think that's wrong. We're going to stick you in, I think it's going to have to be C. Oof. But we're back in S tier territory with the Flayed Ones. I absolutely love this unit. 5 models for 60 points, with Infiltrate, with Stealth, and if you're attacking a unit that is below half strength, every successful hit roll is a critical hit, a sustained hit. You get bucket loads of attacks. And with Twin Linked, you can even do damage to high toughness models like tanks. So for me, these are absolutely S tier. I'm not leaving home without at least 1 unit and ideally 2. So off you go into the S tier there, boys. Well done. Moving on to a mounted unit, we'll look at Locust Destroyers. And in fact, a lot of people have been taking a second look at this datasheet since the Cursed Legion detachment came out, because they actually are viable in that, but I'm not sure they're viable in Awakened Dynasty. Have to run them in a brick of 6 with a Locust Lord to maximize both their durability and their damage output, and it's quite hard to hide. They're quite chunky boys, so for me, I'm not running them. I'm not sure they're really a viable option. I think there are better options that do the same thing within this detachment. So they are going to go over here. Not quite trash, but really not very good in Awakened. Sorry, guys. That said, their bigger brothers are perhaps useful in this detachment. I'm talking about the Locust Heavy Destroyers here. Now, I'm probably not taking 3 with the Gauss Destructor and a Locust Lord because I think I'd rather take a Doomsday Arc. But maybe a solo one with the Gauss Destructor, maybe 2 of those if I can fit them in the list. Keep them in reserves, and then they can pop on from a board edge, get the angle to delete the last few wounds off a big tank or a big monster. That can be clutch. So there is a place for them. However, if I really want to run them, I'm probably running them as the Enmitic variant, so with the Gatling gun. 3 of these guys with a Locust Lord will give you 36 shots, sustain hits on 5s. It's really, really quite strong, particularly because it's strength 6, AP 1, damage 1. So again, if you're going into squishy stuff like elves, like Genestealer cults, like Guard, like Sisters, then they are wounding on 2s, and you can absolutely blend with this unit. So I'm not running it at the moment, but I do think there is play in it, and I'm therefore going to put it in the midboard. So you can go over there. Speaking of midboard, a great midboard objective holder was Lichguard. In Index Hammer, before we got our codex, they were superb. They would definitely have gone in top tier. They've been nerfed slightly since then, and to be honest, I'm not finding a home for them at the moment. I've heard arguments that you could run 5 of them to hold your home objective, quite durable, and I can understand that. But for the reasons I've already explained, I don't need something like that on my home field objective. So for me, they're pretty mid at the moment, unfortunately. And as far as the War Scythe variant is concerned, the only viable detachment for that is Cursed Legion, so that is definitely not getting any play here. So off to the midboard with the Lichguard. And although Lichguard are not getting any play, Ophidian Destroyers definitely are, and that is because of their uppy-downy ability. So they are quite big bases, but you can fit 3 of them in late game to do some scoring behind enemy lines, that kind of thing. So I am definitely running at least 1 squad of these. Use them in your backfield to screen for the early turns, and then use their uppy-downy ability later in the game to score you some points. They're also not the worst things in melee. They're certain, they are damage too, so they can take Marines out, etc. But generally, if I'm putting them into melee, it's usually because something's gone wrong. I want them to be my scoring pieces rather than having to sacrifice them or trade them in a fight. So for me, they are definitely S tier because they're going in all of my lists. Sticking with the Destroyer theme, it is the turn of the Scorpex. And as I mentioned before, these have been in my list for a long time. For most of this edition in Awakened Dynasty, I've taken Scorpex, but at the moment, I've taken them out. Now, if you run them with a Scorpex Lord, you're probably running 3 rather than 6. 6 is just too many to hide, and the other reason you don't run 6 is because they will die to the clapback. They've got no invuln, so they are vulnerable to fire from anything that's reasonable high AP, high damage. So that's the reason I've taken them out. They can be very powerful if you run them with the Lord. You can delete, a big monster or put some serious damage on it. But for me, that's just not justifying the points at the moment, so I've took them out. I'm quite happy running the Scorp Lord on his own. So I'm going to put them, mainly because I love them, I'm going to put them in A. I should probably put them in B, but I'm not going to. Another unit that divides opinion amongst Pharaons is the Tomb Blades. Now, these have Scout, they also have Shoot and Scoot. There's ways to make them fairly durable for the points cost. They're a good harassment unit, good early objective grabbing unit, good early point scoring unit for secondaries. But I just think flayed ones are cooler, so I'm going with flayed ones. If you like Tomb Blades better, tell me why in the comments, but I'm going to have to put them in the mid-board for me. Mid-tier, off you go, lads. Then we're talking sad times for Triarch Praetorians. There's 2 variants of these. They have the Rod of the Covenant, or you've got the version with the particle casters. Neither is very good in this edition, unfortunately, and definitely not in this detachment. They're going in the bin. Trash for the Triarch Praetorians. Sorry, guys. Then the last segment to look at is Battleline, and we will start with Immortals. Now, the Gauss Immortals can put some damage out with the lethal hits, but the variant that's seeing the most play in 10th edition is with the Tesla, because they have Assault. You can pair them with a Plasmancer for sustained hits on 5s, or a Chronomancer for move, shoot, move. And you can also drop in, for example, a Shroud Lord, the Translord there, and he can give them an auto advance of 6. So you're getting an awful lot of movement there, but it is quite a costly bundle in my opinion. So I can see the play. I just can't justify the points at the moment, so they're going to have to go in the mid-tier. There you go. I put them in the wrong tier. Get back up there. There you go. Definitely don't belong in C. And we'll finish on a high with the Warriors. As I've mentioned repeatedly throughout this, I love these guys at the moment. They are in all of my lists. I'm still learning how to play the Warrior Brick. It takes a bit of skill, and I haven't got there yet. I'm not going to lie to you, but I'm really enjoying the journey of developing that skill set. It's a slightly different way to play. I think it's great, so they are definitely going top tier for me. I'm running them with the 12-inch AP1 guns. I think you have to in this edition. When everything gets cover, you need at least AP1. And, of course, Zeras gives them an additional outgoing AP. But let's be honest, I'm probably only shooting them maybe once or twice a game, because their job is to stand on the mid-board, bait my opponent out, and then I'm going to batter my opponent with my Catan, with my Necrosaur, etc., etc. So for me, they are absolutely top tier. I know they're not everybody's cup of tea. I would love to be able to run more of them. I would really love to be able to run like 2 or 3 bricks of 20. And I know some of you do. If you found a way to make that work, please share that with us in the comments. Otherwise, I hope you've really enjoyed that video, and all that's left to do now is say a huge thank you to my Patreons. So we have a Patreon, we also have YouTube channel memberships available. They're the same tier prices. They start from £3 a month. It's a very reasonable rate, and it really, really does make a big difference to me in terms of being able to keep the lights on. So please, please do support the channel if you can. There is a link in the description to YouTube membership. Drop me a note in the comments if you want a link to the Patreon. So thanks for watching. Now get out there and get those younger races off our lawn, and I'll be back soon with another video.